Let's settle in. So on this Valentine's Day evening, let's just find a comfortable position and gently allow your eyes to close and just allow your breath to come. And no matter what this Hallmark holiday looks like for you personally, we're going to really focus tonight on this idea of loving ourselves in a way that it has meaning. It's not trivialized by a holiday or a greeting card. It is something that is real. It is something that is integral to every day of our life. But first, I would just invite you just check in with yourself. As you're taking long, slow, deep breaths in and out, just kind of check in, just see. How do you feel? This day brings happiness to some and it brings sadness to others, and some are just kind of neutral. But the one thing that we all have in common is within each of our hearts, there is life. There is a beat. There is an assurance that in this present moment, we are alive. And that is something to be grateful for, no matter what this day signifies to you personally. We are alive and we are together. So let's just settle in a little bit more, beginning to slow the breath, gently inhaling and gently exhaling. Slow breath in and a slow breath out. One more together. Breath in and breath out. And as you are settling into your space and I've settled into mine, our focus for these few minutes is kind of themed with this idea of Valentine's Day. But what I'd like today to represent is a practice that we can take with us the other 364 days. It's not beholden to a calendar or to something that Hallmark says is a day to mark, but rather it is about our health and our vitality. It's even about our immune system, because there are things within us physiologically that are impacted by the way we treat ourselves. We know what stress physically does to the body. We also know what loving kindness does. And so my thought and my hope today is that as we turn this love back toward ourselves, we are going to begin to heal ourselves from the inside out. We'll create systems of wellness throughout our body. We'll increase our immunity. And we will truly impact just our general state of being in a positive way. And again, it's not about a greeting card or a holiday. It's about just a good practice of love. So there's three things that I want to guide our practice tonight. And what I'll do is I'll share one and then I'll pause, and you and I alike will just sit and see what kind of builds up in our head, what thoughts come, what do we feel in our heart as a response to each thing. But the three of these things collectively are all designed to turn this love back on us. So as you just continue to sit where you are and I sit where I am, let's each just think of something about ourselves for which we are grateful. Something about ourselves for which we are grateful. And I know if I asked you to name the things that you want to fix and change and make better, you can make a long list. But my hope and prayer is that your list about the things that you're grateful for about yourself could be just as long. But today in this moment, let's just think of one thing about yourself for which you are grateful. And just sit and breathe and see what comes up. And as you continue to breathe, I'll share mine. And honestly, the lists are getting easier to make. There were years in my life when this would have been really difficult. But I'm to the point through my practice, through my acts of self-love that are regular and consistent, that these lists are much easier to make. But here in this moment, the thing that I am most grateful for about myself is the fact that I love big. I pour everything I've got into my relationships that are the most important. And sometimes it borrows me a little trouble, but even then, I don't regret it. I'm grateful for the way that I love big. And so just say again to yourself, what are you grateful for about yourself? And then the second question. It's a question that we're asked often, and we almost always pause. But think honestly, with deep reflection, what is something that you like about yourself? Something that you don't want to change? A talent, a personality trait, an accomplishment, an experience, something that you honestly, authentically like about yourself. Let's just sit and breathe and see again what comes up. And if many things come up, then just hang on to all of them. Something that you authentically like about yourself. And as your item appears on your list, I will share mine again. Part of our practice is saying things out loud and then being accountable to them. And so the thing that I honestly and authentically like about myself is my ability to commit. It used to be a really dogmatic and sometimes even aggressive thing in my personality, that I would just hang on with this deep control or perceived control, thinking that was my commitment. But now there's a comfort in it, and there's a sweetness, and it's much softer than it used to be. So the thing today, on this Valentine's Day, that I honestly, authentically like about myself is my ability to commit in loving and compassionate ways. So just tell yourself one more time, what do you like about you? And then the third question, and this is the hard one. What is one thing that you've been critical of about yourself? Maybe today, maybe in a lifetime, maybe recently. One thing you've been critical of about yourself. And then in this moment, being willing to forgive it. Being willing to forgive the criticism that you've heaped on yourself, the harshness in which you've talked to yourself, the hard tones, the judgment. So just ask yourself, what is one thing, one criticism that you've had about yourself? And when we get quiet and that comes to mind, just say to yourself, I forgive you. I forgive you for being like that on this day, February the 14th. And as you continue to breathe again, I'll share mine. For many, many decades, the easiest thing that I could be critical about myself was about my physical being. Sometimes to the point that I was ugly to myself. And I would look in the mirror, and it was almost thoughts of hatred with what I saw. I always wanted to look differently and be differently. And I had this image in my mind of how I thought I was supposed to look. And then I would do things from a nutritional perspective or from exercise or from all these different angles, but I did them from a place of hate and dislike. And very recently, in fact, this has just been the last couple of years, I've had to truly get to a point I could forgive myself for thinking those things, because that's not who I am anymore. I value myself. I like who I am. I'm comfortable in my skin. But the only way I can get to that point is by forgiving myself for thinking the things that I've thought. They're not an albatross hanging around my neck. They're not a thought that cripples me anymore. And so on this day, I ask you, what have you been critical of about yourself? And are you willing in this moment to forgive yourself for thinking that way and move on? And while gratitude is a liberating and freeing exercise for us to have each day, y'all, forgiveness, it's even bigger. It is even bigger. So in this moment today, are you willing to forgive yourself for being critical of you? So I would just invite you just to sit with me for these next couple of minutes in quiet. And let's try to keep our focus on these ideas of the things about ourselves for which we are grateful, the things that we like about ourselves, and the behaviors or the judgments, whatever you want to call them, that you are willing to forgive right now and move on. And now let's just sit, each of us in this bubble of self-love where we are. And I recognize for some of you this is really difficult. And you're still walking the path to get to this point. But just as I began with, there is a heart beating inside of each and every one of us, and it tells us we are alive and we have value and we are worth the breath that's coming into us right now. Just sit and kind of bask in that for these next couple of moments. And as we prepare to close our time, I would invite you, if you feel comfortable, just bring your left hand and put it right there in the center of your chest, right there on top of that heartbeat. And then cover that hand with the other hand. And maybe you're not willing to do it just yet. But if you are, say it where you are in your space. But if not, I will say it for us. And I will hold space for you until you are ready. But 3 simple words to close our practice. And they are, I love me. I love me. I love me. There is divine, unique, powerful energy inside each one of us. And there's only one us. We deserve that love. The people in our lives deserve the version of us that is loved. So try to take that with you as you leave this time. Continuing just to think about the things that you're grateful for about yourselves, the things that you like about yourself, and the thing that you're willing to forgive. And through it all, remember, I love me. Namaste.